Okay, welcome back. Thank you very much. I believe we fixed the phone problem now. So please give us a call again. The phone number is 792-4101, 792-4101. We have the lawyer here, Mr. Philip Burns, and he can answer all your questions for you. And please participate in the dialogue. If you feel that you want to add something to this conversation, or you feel that we have said something that's not quite right, or you believe it's not true, whatever it is, just give us a call. We want to hear from you. Ooh, the phones are ringing already. which is good.
No,
we want to hear.
We got line 2 there.
We want to hear from everyone. So, okay, we were talking about the visa, etc.
Frank pointed out something. You know, here they violated U.S. law, and I said, you know, I agree. Every violation should have a reaction, but we have to make our violations. We have to define our violations so that they're reasonable, and then the reaction. The consequence has to be reasonable as well. What many of your viewers may not realize, what many of we Americans don't realize, is that being here and working here without immigration authorization is a civil violation. It's not a criminal violation. It is not the equivalent of hitting somebody. It's not the equivalent of stealing something. It's the equivalent of paying your taxes, you know, very timely subject, April 16th instead of paying them April 15th. It's the equivalent of littering on the street. And each of those things under U.S. law, they are violations of the law, and there's a consequence. The problem with these low-level immigration violations is that the consequence is huge. You get deported. And what we need is a way for the people who are not here to have a legal way to apply and qualify and have some hope of coming here, which we don't have today. And for the people who are already here to pay their debt to society short of being permanently deported when they've been here for 5, 10, 15 years and have kids born here.
Okay.
For them to pay their debt to society, have something in between nothing and deportation.
Okay. Caller, your name.
Hi, my name is Juan.
Okay, sir, can you turn the volume down, please?
Sure, one second.
Now we can hear you great, Juan.
All right.
Oops, turn that volume down.
Okay.
Don't press the mute button and hold it down.
Okay. Hi. I have a question. Actually, I have 2 questions. I would like to know when the cops, they stop the car, they're supposed to ask you for the green card or just for the license?
They can ask you whatever they want. But pretty much the only when they stop you in a car in the United States, in every state, you have to have a driver's license, and they have the right to ask you for driver's license, registration, and insurance. And if you're missing any of those things, that's a violation of state law, not federal law. And if you don't have them, you know, they can issue a ticket, they can arrest you, etc. If they want to, they can ask you for a green card. I think it's unusual that they should choose to do so because someone's immigration status is absolutely irrelevant with reference to whether they are authorized to drive and if the vehicle is registered and insured. If they ask, as a matter of fact, if any police officer or any immigration officer or any governmental authority whatsoever asks you questions. If you're driving a car, you know, they have the right to ask you driver's license registration, and you have the right to say, I'm sorry, I want to cooperate, I want to help you, but I refuse to answer until my attorney is here. And if they ask you those questions when you're not driving the car, when you're doing something that does not require a license or permission from the government, you know, my recommendation is that you do not, that what you say is exactly this, and you say it in exactly this way. Officer, I am ready, willing, and able to cooperate with you in every respect. I respect you, I respect your position, I respect the laws of this country, and I'm ready, willing, and able to answer every question you have. I just want my lawyer here first. And as soon as you say those magic words, in a criminal context, in a non-criminal context, and especially in an immigration context, they're not supposed to continue asking you. Many immigration officers, regrettably, are very unprofessional, do not follow the law, abuse the law. This is also true of some bad apples in many police departments as well. And all you have to do is keep on repeating and saying, I respect you, I'm ready to cooperate, I just want my lawyer present first. In fact, in order for someone to deport you, They need to know that you are not a U.S. citizen. They need to know that you were not born in the United States or are otherwise not a U.S. citizen. And if an immigrant refuses to answer that question, they will probably not be put into deportation proceedings. And if they are, the deportation judge will probably say, if there's no evidence that they're not a U.S. citizen, the deportation judges have been known to say, you're free to go, we don't know who you are.
It's their burden of proof, not yours.
It is the burden of proof of the Immigration Service to prove that you are not a citizen of the United States. And if you tell them I'm from Guatemala, Brazil, Ecuador, it's over, baby. But if you say, I'm ready to help you, I just want my lawyer here first, thank you, in a very courteous, polite way, and you don't give them that information, even if they, and it happens from time to time, a really stupid immigration agent will actually bring you to deportation court, and the judge will say, okay, deportation agent, what country is he from? I don't know. What? You can't prove to me he's not from the U.S.? He didn't admit to you this immigrant is not scared of you and didn't tell you, spill the beans and tell you everything? No, says the immigration agent, he didn't. And the immigration judge now turns to the immigrant and says, you're free to go, sir. I don't know who you are, what country you're from, but we don't have what we need to deport you. Won't you tell me what country you're from so we can deport you, please? Well, Your Honor, I'm very willing to help you, but I want my lawyer first. Okay. Agent, we can't do anything. You go home, have a great life.
Okay.
Don't give them information.
Good, we have more calls. Remember, if you want your friends to see this and they can't see this right now, they can see this show tomorrow at 12 noon, Friday at 12 noon, and you can also go on the blog, okay? And they will put the blog on the screen for you. Caller, you're in the air. Caller? Caller, you're in the air. Okay, oops, sorry about that. Caller, you're in the air.
Hi, this is me again. That's Juan. Thank you for your answer. That's very important to know all that. I would like to ask a second question because I think it's going to be good for a lot of people that are in this case. Can an illegal immigrant, I'm sorry, they can buy a house, put it their own business because, you know, a lot of times they cannot do that or they can't.
Well,
thank you.
They think they can't do that, but of course they can. There's no law. As a matter of fact, you know, if I had to hazard a guess, I would say that 98% of U.S. laws make absolutely do not distinguish between what your immigration status is and what not. Certainly, if you're not a citizen, you can't vote, you can't serve on a jury, you cannot be deported. If you're a green card holder, you can live here, you can work, you can travel, but if you spend too much time outside, you commit any sort of moderate crime or worse, you lose your green card, you get deported. All of the constitutional right, I think just about every single constitutional right, you know, these constitutional rights protect murderers and bank robbers, and they certainly protect, in the vast majority of cases, undocumented immigrants, and there's nothing stopping, it is not illegal for an undocumented immigrant to buy a house.
Okay.
Now, it may not be very practical because if you are caught and if they deport you, now you're going to be back in Brazil or Ecuador or whatever, you're going to have a house up here, it's going to be difficult to maintain it, to collect the rent, and to sell it for the price you want.
Okay. Caller, you're in the air.
Yes, hi. I'm listening to Mr. Burns, and I also am a first-generation American on both sides of my family. But my parents both came here legally. They came here with professions, and they made sure that they learned to speak our language. It was very important for them because they wanted all four of their children to get a great education in this country, and we have done so. Myself and my brother and sisters, we are all college-educated first-generation Americans. We're all doing well. I'm a teacher, and I expect that people from other countries come over here legally also.
That's a great question.
And I sort of resent the fact that people are coming here and getting some kind of card, and we don't know their criminal backgrounds or their backgrounds in their countries.
I agree.
I've had friends of mine who've been hit by illegal immigrants with no insurance, and their insurance rates are going up. They are paying for their hospital bills.
Okay.
and I resent that.
Okay, ma'am, I'm going to have to cut you off because we have more calls to take, okay?
Okay, well,
All right.
I would like that addressed, please.
Thank you.
All right, Alicia, that is a wonderful question, and you know what? Thank you, because this is this is the dialogue. This is the discussion we need to have in America. And I've thought long and hard about this. Representing immigrants, I've gone beyond just sucking money out of their pockets and, you know, fooling around in courtrooms and the rest of it. I've thought long and hard about what is fair. How do we work it out? How do we make the system work for everybody? Because right now it doesn't. It doesn't work for our economy. It doesn't work for our being a country of laws. It doesn't work for the U.S. citizens. It doesn't even work for the immigrants. We got a broken system. It doesn't work. Now, you say that, Alicia, you say that your parents came here legally. I have no doubt your parents did, but let me tell you that there's a myth that prior generations of immigrants came here legally. The fact of the matter is, first of all, it was much easier to immigrate back in those days. You know, back in the 1910s and 20s and the rest of it, if you had a letter from a tailor shop that said they are offering you a job as a tailor, and another letter saying you were a tailor back in, you know, Poland or Russia, Greece or Italy, and they'd look in your eye, they'd make you cough at Ellis Island, they'd let you in. Well, let me tell you something that many people's grandparents and great-grandparents did not tell them, which is a lot of those letters were fake. As a matter of fact, there is a anecdotal story about a tailor in Philadelphia who signed 10,000 letters offering people jobs, and you know there's no tailor shop with 10,000 people working there. So there was fraud, there was lying, there was illegal stuff going on back then. Secondly,
it's the same today.
You say that that the ones coming here now, they don't have professions. Well, the vast majority of, you know, it sounds like your family was an exception. Most of the immigrants from Eastern Europe and Southern Europe, which was the last wave of immigration from 1880 to 1920, prior to that, or during that time and prior to that, there were the Irish and the Germans. The vast majority of them were laborers. They worked in agriculture. They did construction. The Italians in Stamford are known for having built the railway system from New York to New Haven. You say that your parents learned English, and I want to congratulate you because many immigrants in the last wave 100 years ago did not learn English. If you go back and you look at the pictures of the Lower East Side and equivalent places in Philadelphia, Boston, Chicago, etc., you will find blocks and blocks and blocks where you see signs in Hebrew, in Yiddish, in Italian, Polish, Russian. Back in those days, there were dozens of foreign language newspapers in New York and Los Angeles and San Francisco, in every major city. So when people say, well, my folks learned English, my answer to you is, that's not necessarily so. Lastly, you say people come here, they don't have insurance and the rest of it. That's because they can't come legally. If they could come here legally, they could get a work permit, they could get a Social Security card, they could get a driver's license, and I have people coming into my office every day with $1,000, $2,000, $3,000, $4,000 bucks. They plunk it on my table, and I'm sorry for speaking fast. Yvonne wants you guys to speak, but I gotta say this, Yvonne. I gotta say
the calls. Okay, go ahead.
All right? They're plunking down their money. They're saying, you know, I've worked as a day laborer, as a gardener, whatever, for 3 years. This is all the money I've saved. Please, Philip, get me my papers so that I can be legally here, and 9 out of 10 people, there's nothing I can do for them. If the state of Connecticut permitted them to get driver's licenses, now they could buy insurance, but we don't. And the reason we don't, they say, is because, well, if they have driver's licenses, they're going to get on airplanes and drive airplanes into tall buildings. Well, I got news for DMV. If you have a passport that says Osama bin Laden terrorist, that's a photo ID, and that's all you need to get on an airplane. It's just we have a very messed up system and a lot of myths and urban legends confusing people.
Caller, you're in the air.
Hi, how are you today?
Good, thank you.
Hey, Mr. Burns, nice to see you tonight. I got a couple of comments, and then I have a couple of questions for you, since the name of the show is Urban Myths and Lies About Immigrants. First of all, I wanted to talk about, the last time I saw you was last year down at the Danbury Public Library. You were doing a forum with Mayor Boughton, and I thought it was, I was there, and two things I observed there was quite funny, was that the people who were against immigrants in the area, they all, at least 95% of them, all got up and walked out as soon as Mark Boughton was done with his speech, and you got up to speak. I thought that spoke volumes because, you know, they have all these claims, they draw all these statements and things about illegal immigration, but here is an immigration lawyer who can debunk these accusations, and they just walk up and leave. I thought that spoke volumes about those people. Because I just don't think they want to get their things challenged. So, based on that, I'll throw out one thing I hear from them all the time. Actually, two things. I like the fact that you talked about when an agent comes out, or a police officer comes and captures an immigrant or arrests and questions an immigrant. It's very important for them not to say anything. Because most of the times when an ICE agent goes to deport somebody, it's based upon the person confessing that they are from a different country. But I think that's one of the things people need to understand. So just take that for you. Be quiet. Just don't say anything that's weird, and most of the time you're going to be okay. I want to know, one thing I hear from these people is that children of illegal or undocumented immigrants are illegal kids.
Is that a question?
Yeah.
Are they illegal kids?
A lot of people are saying
If
that.
they were born here, right?
Let me answer that question.
Okay.
Okay. Do you want me to answer that now, or wait till you ask your second question?
My second question is this, real quick. I'll just throw them both out there because I don't want to take much of your time.
Right, because, yeah, the time is...
Second question is this. The people say that ICE agents only come after people who have criminal records. So I'll just throw those two out there for you and you get...
Okay.
All right.
Great.
Very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Let's talk about the kids being born here illegally. In Germany, there are families of Turkish immigrants who've been there for 1, 2, 3, 4 generations. There are children of Turkish immigrants who have never been to Turkey. They were born in Germany. Their kids are born in Germany. They know nothing about Turkey. And Germany has a system where children of immigrants, legal or illegal, are never considered Germans and never given German citizenship. Well, I shouldn't say never given German citizenship. They are considered, certainly children of illegal immigrants in Germany are considered illegal. And you have generations of people who are second-class citizens. Thank God we don't have that in the United States. You're born in the U.S., you're a U.S. citizen. Now, there are people in Congress who want to change that. I think it's a bad idea. Now, let's talk about the Danbury 11, the 11 guys who were picked up because they were standing on the corner looking Hispanic. I guess being Hispanic in Danbury, that's a new crime. Looking for a job in Danbury is a crime. The ICE agents and Danbury police, it's not clear who was in the driver's seat and who was not, came in with vans, picked these guys up and took them off. The big mistake they made, if they had said, I'm ready, willing, and able to talk to you, I'm ready to cooperate, I want to help, I just want my attorney first, if my attorney here first, they would not be in deportation today.
Well,
now,
this is a good point because if nobody's listening to this show, please tell them tomorrow at 12 noon, Friday, 12 noon, they can listen to this show and they can actually learn something so that they will not be in the position that the Danbury 11 were in a few months ago.
Are in.
Well, they still are in there, huh?
You know, Yale University is fighting the good fight. I suspect they're going to lose, but they sure are. But they might make good law. They might actually change the law, which would be great. Now, sorry, I got to say this.
Okay, go ahead.
He asked the question. These are great questions.
Go ahead.
I want to honor him.
Yes, go ahead.
And the watchers and the viewers. The caller talks about ICE, that is the deportation guys, coming after those with criminal records. In fact, up until the big raids at the Purdue chicken plants, I think in September of last year, ICE was, they only have enough money to deport 250,000 people a year. There's approximately 12 million undocumented immigrants in the United States who came with papers that expired or never had papers, which means it's going to take 48 years to deport them all, assuming none of them come back in. So they were really concentrating their energies and their limited resources on people who had committed moderate to serious crimes, who either were or were not legal, because if you're legal and you committed moderate to serious crime, you're out of here. And there was a confusion by an earlier caller. You know, it's not illegal or citizen. It's illegal, legal with a green card, which is sort of the ugly duckling stage where we keep an eye on you. And if you toe the line for enough years and you learn English and the rest of it, then maybe you can apply and maybe you will be granted citizenship. But so ICE was going after the criminals and they were going after the people called absconders, people who are caught at the border, who paid a bond to get out with a promise to appear in immigration court and then never showed up. So those were their two priorities. Well, of course, their top priority was terrorists. However, they were getting a lot of criticism from Congress. They were getting criticism from some people in Danbury and all over the rest of the country, saying, why don't you go after these guys on the corner? Why don't you go after all these other people? So what they've done is they've gone after the low-hanging fruit. They've gone after the Spanish-looking people on the corner. They've gone after the big factories where the Social Security computer system shows a lot of nonsensical Social Security numbers. They're paying their taxes, but they're doing it with fake numbers. They go in there and they swoop up a whole bunch of them. It makes a big headline, and it's a drop in the bucket. And it's purely for public relations. There's no way we're going to deport them all. Those are the easy ones to pick up in the big factories where statistical analysis immediately shows there's a lot of them there. You go in and get them. There's some really ugly stuff that happened at the Purdue factories, by the way. They swoop in, and everybody who's white, they don't check their immigration status, don't ask them any questions, they send them out. All the ones who look Hispanic, they're chaining them to radiators, they're doing this, they're keeping them for hours, not giving them water, not letting them go to the bathroom. The kids are getting out of school, no one's picking them up. Absolute disaster, and a fair number of them are legal, or even citizens. Ugly, ugly, ugly stuff going on. Now, about the Danbury Library. It was not a presentation by the mayor and me. It was the mayor spoke, and he said, I have to go, regrettably I have another event. And I said, Mayor, please stick around for a few minutes, because I really want you to hear what I have to say about how the system is broken and how a lot of people are caught in this terrible situation. And he said, okay, Phil, I'll stick around for a few minutes. And I said, promise me you'll let me go before you leave, because I want to ask you a question. And he said, okay, okay, okay. And he seemed to be inching towards the door, and I jumped the gun on my question, because I really wanted to lay the foundation, and I got a little overexcited. And don't feel too good about that, but I think the question was still legitimate. But the point is about the mayor spoke, and this side of the audience stayed, and this side of the audience, as I got up to talk about how the system works. They got up, they left, they did not want to hear it. And the problem there is, if we're not talking about what's broken, then we're not talking about how to fix it. And if we're not talking about how to fix it, it stays broken.
Okay.
The number.
Okay, caller, your name.
Hi. With all due respect, Attorney Burns, I called earlier. My parents, when they came over here, we're talking after World War II, not like 1900 or early 1900s. My parents came over here sponsored by family members who had come before them and had legal status and were working class citizens of our country. Many of those people at that time, I heard your comments about false paperwork and all that, and I'm sure that was true. But in the late 1940s, early 50s, coming over to Ellis Island, they were very strict about documentation. I know that from what my parents said. And as a teacher today, working in the school system, I feel very badly, because I love every child that comes into our classrooms. But I still have parents who are Spanish. I don't know if they're legal or whatever. The bottom line is they refuse to speak English in their home with their children.
Okay.
And I find that to be a very big issue.
All right.
So, you know, this is something, and also what was not addressed is earlier when I called, I've friends who are American citizens whose insurance rates being hit by illegal aliens and are paying for their insurance because they don't have any insurance.
Okay,
in
caller.
many cases, not even licenses, and that is not being addressed either.
All right, caller, we gotta go. Thank you, okay? Time's up. Thank you very much. And again, if you want to see the show, you can go on my blog. You can email me about the show. And also you can make comments on it on the blog. And also tell your friends this show will be aired tomorrow at 12 noon, Friday at 12 noon, so you guys can see it. Thank you very much, Mr. Burns. Thank you for coming. And please come back again.
My pleasure.
What can I say?
Let's do the program.
Yes, it is what it is.
To be continued.
To be continued. It is what it is.
If it's not continued, it won't get fixed.
Right. And hey, let's try to work something out. Let's try to fix this problem.
Why can't we all live together?
We want the labor, but yet we don't want the people to be here.
Exactly.
So anyways, see you next week. Bye. This show is every Thursday from 9 p.m. to 10 p.m. and Fridays from 12 noon to 1 p.m. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Everything's gone down. I lost my girl when she ran off with a guy from the dark side of town.